What's up, everyone? I've got to check that my microphone and stuff are working. Hold on. I wonder where it gives you options for this. I don't know if it does. Let me know if you can hear me, I guess. I'm not sure which of my connected microphones it's using. YouTube has changed this interface since the last time I have done it. Um, This is interesting that it does not give you any place I can share the live stream. That's nice. But where are my settings? It just doesn't give you any, huh? All right, I'm waiting for the chat to catch up so I know if any of you can actually hear me. That would suck if not. You're all saying hi. Hi to all of you, but none of you are saying you can't hear me so far. So hopefully you can hear me. I just don't know which device you're hearing me on. Oh, you can hear me. Great. Well, you've got a couple more minutes of me asking now that I finally saw the chat. Wow, hey, there's a lot of you here. Nice to see you all. Okay, I'm going to try to get this started on Instagram as well so that anyone over there can watch too. We're going to try to do dueling cameras. I also don't do Instagram lives that often, so I'm got to bear with me on this one as well. All right, I think this looks good though over on Instagram. Oh, hey, we're live over here now, I think. Yeah, looks like it. Cool. Hello, Instagram. Hello, YouTube. There's a good amount of you here. How are you all doing tonight? Yes, pumpkin in the background. I thought I should be festive. It's October. Hello, everyone on Instagram. We're doing. My cameras aren't that close together. I'm gonna try to look at both cameras when I can, so I pay attention to both audiences. It's almost like doing theater in the round, you know? Gotta decide which way to look based on what I'm talking about. Also, this means there's a lot of chat to follow, because oh my gosh, chats are moving fast, both on YouTube and on Instagram. So I apologize right up front if I don't see your comments, because this is going to be a lot to keep up with. But thank you all for being here. This is kind of fun. I've been wanting to do more live streams. I just haven't. The video that I put out last week took up a lot of my year. That was a big reason I haven't been doing many things in my life, but especially haven't been putting out regular YouTube videos or doing live streams. I thought for a while, and this isn't something I've done yet, obviously, this is sort of the first foray into it, but I thought it might be kind of fun, like when I do get back to releasing videos regularly, whether that's once a month or twice a month, maybe doing live streams either that night after I've released the video or like the next day, give people a little bit of time to watch it. But I don't know, I just thought that'd be fun and talk about the video together after you've all seen it. And then like, you know, there's regular chances to chat with each other. People saying that my video made them cry. Yeah, sorry, I made a lot of people cry in the last week, apparently. Yeah. Someone said they like my hoodie. This is made by Rocco Catastrophe, maybe by others. That's how I found it. Rocco have made it in conjunction with others. I find it just cool looking. It's a cool looking hoodie, but I especially like it because clearly based on this live stream in my YouTube channel, I am the last thing from Stealth. One of my friends saw me wearing it last year and just laughed at me because he was like, okay. Okay, let me try and look at some of your comments here. Still sort of letting people filter in. Oh, we're over 100 people watching on YouTube. Hi, everyone. And quite a few people watching on Instagram as well. Yeah, so I mean, I wanted to do this live stream just to sort of talk about the video that I put out because it was a lot. I've been working on it for a very, very long time. And just as I've been working on it, or not working on it anymore, but as I was working on it, there were lots of moments where I was like, oh, I want to like share this thing with people. And didn't tell you I was working on it, so there wasn't really a chance to tell you that. So yeah, I wanted to tell you some of the things about it now. Nothing that's like a huge revelation, just sort of imagine it's like the DVD commentary. It's that level of information. Let's see. see, trying to catch up with some of your. Oh, do I have a question on Instagram? Is that what that little thing means? Um, oh, that's a good question. Someone asked what Camp Lost Boys was like, and I think they asked that because I mentioned Rocco and this sweatshirt. So Rocco Coyotes, I called him Rocco Catastrophe. That's like his DJ name and username on social media. If you want to follow him, he's a great community leader in the trans man kind of realm, community, whatever. So he makes cool merch. He is also the co-founder of Original Plumbing, which was a magazine that started, I think, in the late 90s, early 2000s, maybe, about trans men and trans male culture. And most recently, he co-founded Camp Lost Boys, which is a camp for trans men adults, and it's specifically for binary trans men. If you are more on the non-binary side of transmasculine, they're happy to help you find camps that might be more affirming for you, but it's specifically for men to have that space just for men. And it's intergenerational. It's the 2 times that I've been, we've had campers aged like 17 to 74. So it's really, really cool to get to meet, trans men who medically transition in the 80s, and get to see what life is like for them, or older guys who are just starting to transition, and then also see like younger guys who are maybe ahead of where you are. Like it's a really, really cool experience. And obviously the 2 camps that were going to happen this year were canceled, but if you go to camplostboys.com.org, I don't know, or just follow Rocco on social media anywhere. He's been him and the other folks who work on Camp Lost Boys have been doing a lot of work around sort of having virtual chats, sort of virtual fireside chats, bringing a bunch of trans men together. And Rocco also does a lot of work with just like men in general, like cis men, even beyond trans men. So that's very cool stuff. That was a long aside, but I always like plugging Camp Lost Boys. Yeah, Camp Lost Boys is what it is called. The thing that I was talking about is called Camp Lost Boys. Okay, I guess I can talk about the video. I need to like go to it on my channel because I think what I'm gonna do is just sort of scrub through the video and try to remember some of the things that I wanted to talk to you all about. Oh, it's so weird having this like out in the world now. Oh, and I got an ad, of course. Because, so I guess I can start at the beginning, which is that I had the idea for some version of this video in, I guess, the end of 2017. And I thought that I was going to make it as a 3 years on testosterone video because I started T and I came out in 2015. And I was like, oh, great. I've got, I had some footage in mind and some idea of how I was going to put it together. And I was like, cool, this will be a great 3 years on testosterone video. And at the time, it wasn't going to go all the way back throughout my whole life. It was just going to start at coming out and starting T in 2015. But I did not finish it in time to be a 3 years on T video. And then it was just sort of this thing, one of those, when you have those like long-term projects that you always need to be working on. And sometimes you do a little bit, but mostly they just hang over your head. And that's kind of what this project became. It was then going to be a 4 years on testosterone video, and that didn't happen. And once that passed, I was like, okay, 5 years is a good round milestone. I had a lot of other things in my life sort of happening that felt like it was going to be a good milestone time, namely the fact that my 5 years on testosterone lined up almost exactly with me turning 30 years old. And just before that, having published my first book. So just sort of, lots of closing the book on looking at the past things were sort of all lining up at the same time. So I was like, okay, cool. 5 years sounds good. And I think I can do that. My 5 years was in May, so this did not quite line up, but it's still this year, and I finally did it, and I finally got it out there. But all of that is just to say of like how long I have been working on this video. Like almost 3 years in some ways, and it wasn't constantly working on it all the time, but there were definitely a few periods over the years of like, full weekends devoted just to working on it. And this year especially, like once lockdown started, it sort of became my thing that I really, really wanted to accomplish. And I knew I had a lot of canceled trips. I had a lot of other canceled obligations and much less of a social life in some ways. Wasn't going out anywhere, but everyone wanted to do video calls. And so it seemed like a good opportunity to put in a lot of work. And I thought I was going to be able to release it on the actual anniversary in May, but I needed some more time. And I'm glad I took that time because I have one or two quibbles about the video, but mostly I really like how it turned out. And it's rare that I can say that for something, especially something that's like online, because online content is usually such a quick turnaround and there's so much pressure around it that you usually end up putting it out before it's completely perfect to you. And that's actually good in a way for someone who leans towards perfectionism like I do. It can be really helpful to have to practice just finishing things and putting them out there before they feel perfect. But it's nice sometimes to get to actually make it perfect, exactly the way that I wanted it to. So yes, I'm like, now I'm starting to read some of your comments and getting distracted from what I was going to say. I also want to think about some of the questions and comments that I saw in the chat as the video was premiering, because if you don't know, if you just watched the video like a normal YouTube video, I debuted it with YouTube's like premiere features, which is where we all sort of watch the video at the same time and you can't fast forward or go back or anything. It just sort of plays in sync all together, and we have a little chat going like we do right now. And so I got to see everyone's reactions live. So that was exciting. Sometimes when you do a premiere, videos don't perform as well, like getting suggested and going out to subscription feeds and stuff. So that's frustrating, but it was still really cool to get to watch it with all of you, any of you who are there. It was really, really cool after having worked for so many years to get to see your reactions live. It was kind of like a real premiere, because these days that is a real premiere. Movies aren't premiering the way they used to. That's as close as even Hollywood gets to a real premiere these days. So that's cool. I do see one question in the comments from Cole, and that leads me into kind of what I was going to get to next. So the question is, I'm curious how you had so much behind the scenes footage, like footage of you filming or editing, etc. So that is a great question. The stuff at the beginning, you know, when I have kind of like a vlog for like 2 minutes where I'm sort of introducing the video, that is just that I set up my iPhone on a tripod and filmed myself filming. So that's all that was. But the reason I did that is because I knew that I had footage from 2015 of myself filming my coming out video, and of working on other things like that, editing the coming out video and those kinds of things. The reason that I have that and a lot of the other very nice looking footage from that same era, sort of around the time that I was starting Testosterone and doing the coming out video, and there's just like lots of random B-roll of very high quality of me all around New York City. That is because when, and I don't think I've ever said this publicly, but when I was first coming out, we were filming it for a documentary that never happened. Basically, for anyone who doesn't know, I started out kind of very little bit as a documentary filmmaker. That was my minor at NYU, and my first job out of college was working on a documentary just as a rough cut editor. And the co-director of that film that I worked on, we became good friends, as you tend to do when you work on a film or any big artistic project like that together. And when I was getting ready to come out, because my coming out, for anyone who's read my book, and you can kind of get it a little bit from the video, it was not like a last minute decision, just filmed a YouTube video and put it out there. It was like a 6-month process of telling people in my life and just getting ready to do things. Because at the time I was the spokesperson for a nonprofit, and I'm just, as I said a minute ago, a perfectionist. And so I just wanted everything to sort of like line up very well. And over those 6 months, we were filming a lot of it. We actually filmed like phone call with my dad when I was coming out to him. There's a couple of shots of that actually in the video. Anytime I'm like sitting at my desk at my old apartment and like the lights are down low and I look like really upset, that was like most likely the footage of me coming out to my dad on the phone. Yeah. But anyways, when I knew I was finally going to transition, I was going to come out, I had an idea for like this more creative kind of video project that I wanted to do, and I knew I couldn't do it on my own. So I called up my friend that I had worked on that actual documentary on, and I had to come out to her. Like, we went to a bar, I came out to her and was like, okay, the reason I'm telling you when we haven't talked in years is because I want your help on this video project. And she was super down to help with that. But then she was like, yeah, but could we also film a documentary? um, and I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Let's try it. And so we filmed a lot of stuff. We like filmed my speaking gigs and just like tons of interviews. Um, we sort of planned this whole coming out party and like a starting tea party, which was like a thing I genuinely always wanted to do and was a fun experience with my friends. But also, it was kind of like a scene for the documentary. Like, all of the decorations and planning was on the documentary budget. There were cameras everywhere. I was mic'd up the whole time. It was a very strange couple months of my life. But the documentary ended up not happening. We just weren't quite coming up with like what a good story was beyond like trans person transitioning. And by 2015, that was already starting to be too passe. There sort of needed to be more to it. And we had a couple of things that were more to it, but it wasn't enough. And we both had so many other things going on and we were having trouble getting any kind of funding. So we ended up scrapping the project, which is really good for Anne, the co-director of, well, she was the director of this documentary, but of the other project, she was the co-director, because she went on to make this amazing short film that has won awards all around the world and has totally jumped or kickstarted her life. She has done so many cool things. And she was nice enough to share the footage with me to do what I wanted with. And so I decided to use some of it to make this video. And that was 3 years ago when I started working on a transition video. That was sort of it, was I was just using the documentary stuff to just sort of see what I could do with it. But then somewhere in there, I decided to go all the way back to the beginning of my life. And I think probably part of what encouraged that was another thing that I started doing in lockdown was finally finishing the task of digitizing all of my family's home videos. I started working on that years ago. Actually, I think like in 2015. And it takes a while. And so I never finished it. But that was one thing that I was finishing during lockdown, in part for Mother's Day, because I wanted to share some stuff with my mom for Mother's Day. And yeah, decided that that would be a good thing to add to the video. Sorry, I'm getting a little distracted by some of your chats and questions and stuff now. Someone said to plug Anne's short video or short film, and I should, but I cannot remember what it's called right now, so I'll post that out somewhere else. But I will say, if you go to the description box of the video, there's a link to her website, and I'm sure it's on there. Her name is Anne Lupo. She's amazing. She's worked with Casey Neistat a bunch, and also I think edited a music video for U2. Like, she's amazing. Okay, let's see. Oh, hi, Alana. Okay, I've got some like transition related questions, which I might answer in a bit. A lot of you are just talking with each other, which I love. I love when I can see like the chat sections or the comment sections just being a place where other people are like meeting each other and answering each other's questions. That's like, that's the dream. That's when it's great. That's what I originally loved about YouTube. Was once I discovered sort of like the nerd fighter community and just people talking to each other and getting to know each other in the comments of whether it was the Vlogbrother videos or other YouTubers at the time. That was a big part of it. And I think it still is in some ways. I like seeing when that happens, like right now. Oh, okay. I think all right. Oh, we got Instagram questions. I just noticed. Someone asked if the podcast is still happening. I suppose that depends what podcast you are talking about. I assume you're talking about Transmission, which is my interview-based podcast with other trans people. I said is. I haven't written it off completely. I'm not working on it at all right now. I just haven't felt super inspired to do it. It was a lot of work doing it just as one person, and I tried to bring someone else on board at one point, and that didn't quite work out. And also, pretty much a lot of what I wanted it to be now exists in other podcasts. Like there weren't as many trans podcasts out when I started that in 2017. But now there are, and especially the podcast Gender Reveal, hosted by Tuck Woodstock, is amazing. You should all listen to Gender Reveal. If you miss my podcast transmission, go listen to Gender Reveal. It's great. There's also a couple like new trans oral history podcasts that I haven't gotten a chance to listen to yet, but I think they're amazing. One is called Transcripts, like the transcripts of a video. That's what the podcast is called. But it's an awesome like oral history project by and for trans people. Maybe I will go back to transmission one day. But I do have other podcasts that I do. I put out a new episode of Everything's Bigger. Someone just asked in the YouTube chat about that. Yeah, new episode of Everything's Bigger came out today. I posted it this morning. So you can go, refresh any of your podcast feeds wherever you listen to that. You can also go to Bigger Pod on Instagram or Twitter is our social media. For anyone who doesn't know what that podcast is, it's my podcast with my friend Bo. And basically we just overthink masculinity. That's the broad thing is both we call ourselves professional overthinkers. And we sort of talk about what it means to be men in this day and age. Bo is a cis man. I'm obviously trans, so we have slightly different perspectives, but we're very similar in a lot of other ways. We both grew up in Texas. We now live in New York City. And so, we touch on some topics that are very obviously related to masculinity. Like today's episode was talking about how the patriarchy tries to stifle your passions and your enthusiasms about things. But last night we recorded a new episode that'll be going out next week, and that was just about Halloween. And we went deep on Halloween and Dia de Muertos, but it wasn't explicitly about masculinity. So if you like thinking about gender stuff, which if you follow my stuff, you probably do, then there's some of that in Everything's Bigger. But if you're tired of that and just want, as my friend Tom would call it, a high fidelity phone call type of a podcast, just a conversation based podcast between two friends talking about all kinds of issues, then yeah, check out Everything's Bigger. It is available anywhere that you get podcasts. And then also, you asked about the podcast. So I just got to mention all the podcasts that I do because podcasting is like my life right now. I feel like that sign on the little kid from Love Actually's bedroom door when he gets really into drumming so he can impress that girl. And it's like drumming is life. Podcasting is life right now. Because I also host a daily podcast. It's called the Kottke Ride Home. It's a collaboration between Kottke.org, which is a 20-year-old blog run by Jason Kottke, and Ride Home Media, which is a daily news podcast network. And yeah, I write and edit and host that podcast every single weekday. So if you want to hear from me every day, you can tune in to the Kottke Ride Home wherever you get podcasts. And that is basically, I just find a few things every day that I think are cool and I talk about them. Like it might be new discoveries, it might be new technology or viral memes, or sometimes it's like weird things from history or literature. Like today's episode was about why people in the European Renaissance seem to believe in mer people, and also about a new paper that was just published about a star that got spaghettified by a black hole last year. Weird science stuff I learned about today. What else was in today's episode? There's one thing that I'm forgetting, but another one was this company that's paying TikTok influencers, or really just any TikTok users, to bash corporations. Like they made a bunch of sounds on TikTok that are all like parodies of popular songs, but talking about how Amazon has unethical labor practices and stuff. That's a cool thing that's happening right now that I talked about on the podcast. So yeah, it's all kinds of weird stuff like that. So it's the Kottke Ride Home, and you can listen to that every single weekday and hear me talk about cool things if you want. There is our big podcast tangent. All right. You all talking about what you're gonna be for Halloween? That's exciting. I have my Halloween costume planned, and I will post an Instagram of it on Halloween. But I'm actually very sad about it right now because I, well, for the costume, I was doing it because I grew my hair out during quarantine this year, which you may have seen from the video. Any of you who like regularly watch, and I feel like there's some people who are tuned in tonight who barely know who I am and don't watch my videos. Um, but sorry, I get distracted by your chats again. Sometimes I think I should just like turn these up, but I want to talk to you. Okay, anyways, yes, I had my Halloween costume all picked out, and it was related to my hair being longer, and then I went and got a haircut. And it was more than I wanted it to be. I just wanted to trim it a little bit to get me through winter, and instead they cut off a lot of my hair, and that's why I'm wearing a hat. um yeah, so I don't know if my Halloween costume is going to work exactly how I wanted it to anymore, and I'm not as excited about it as I was. I'm sad. Did anyone else grow their hair out or do new hair, facial hair experimentations during lockdown? I think it said someone asked if I thought about making a Discord server. Lots of people keep telling me to, but honestly, I've tried using Discord a few times, and it's just not really for me. I don't quite get it. Um, if other people wanted to start one, that's cool, and maybe I would pop in sometimes. But Discord is not my thing. Um, and on the note of social media, I saw someone ask if I use Instagram more than any other social media platform. I think I probably use Twitter the most. That is probably where I'm most active because that's where I'm like online all day while I'm working. I did, however, delete Twitter from my phone recently, which is the first time I have done that since I put it on my phone in 2008. So it's a big deal. I just can't deal with having it. Just was not healthy anymore for me to have access to um, that many people's discussions about what's going on in the world right now. I turned off most notifications on my phone a couple weeks ago. Instagram is still on my phone, however, so maybe Instagram will become the social media platform I use more just because it's one of the few left on my phone. But no, I still probably use Twitter the most. If you're just wondering where to follow me the most. Ooh, lots of things about your haircuts now. Yeah, I could wear a wig on Halloween, but the point was that I was doing it because it was my hair. I really, really started liking my longer hair, and I'm just very sad that it's gone now. I know it grows back, but it's not going to grow back soon enough. um, see, someone else is growing their hair out to be a specific character for Halloween. I don't recognize who that character is. Raina? Listen, I'm not as cool as people seem to think I am. Anytime I do one of these, everyone's talking about TV shows and other YouTubers and all kinds of things I've never heard of. Someone buzzed their head. They always wanted to try it. Yeah, this is the perfect time to try something like that. I would not buzz my hair until I like maybe have to because I've got weird moles all over my head and I feel like the clock is ticking on how long I get to have hair on my head. So I'm going to enjoy it while I can. And I'm not gonna falsely buzz or shave it before I have to. Um, Lots of people been growing their hair out since March. Yep. Um, all right. Oh, you know, this is a slightly random question on Instagram, but I want to answer this because I'd probably addressed it. I don't know. I forget the things that I say, but I've never quite addressed it. Someone on Instagram asked, why wasn't there 10-year high school reunion footage in the video? Which maybe you're talking about the big video that was posted, but you could be talking about my 10-year high school reunion video, which like for some reason really took off and is maybe my most watched video ever on my channel. And once a video goes beyond you wonderful people here and starts being seen by lots of other people, I stop looking at the comments because it just becomes a bunch of transphobic harassment, and I don't need to look at that in my life. But I do know that a lot of people click on that video because they think that it's going to be like some short documentary about my like actually going to my 10-year high school reunion, and it's not. It's just me in a vlog talking, and maybe I have a couple of pictures. I don't know if I even have pictures from the reunion. And here's the reason why. Number one, I thought that I would film a little bit at the reunion, and I filmed a lot like that day when I was in my hometown and like going back to my high school and stuff. And I tried to use a little bit of that in the video, but it didn't really work, especially because I didn't film anything at the actual reunion, mostly because I was really nervous to be there. I was freaking out. It took about 2 hours for me to like unwind while I was there. I was just like I had like a I was surrounded by friends and a support system that I felt good with, but I was not leaving them, and I was not talking to anyone. I was not initiating any conversation. So I definitely wasn't about to like start putting a camera in people's faces when I couldn't even like get outside of my own head. And it's also like, you know, and this is an important note in our era of social media and people posting things publicly all the time, and people sometimes not realizing the internet is forever or how much influence they may actually have when they feel like they don't have any. But like, if you're going to be putting people in a video that you're posting online, you've got to ask their permission for that. You can't just start filming things randomly. And I was so scared to simply be talking to anyone that I wasn't about to also then start a conversation about, by the way, can I film you for a YouTube video? Yes, I make YouTube videos, and then it becomes a whole thing. So I did not really film anything at the reunion, even though I kind of wish that I had, because there's a documentary I like a lot that sort of, at the beginning, the documentary thought that it was going to be about a trans woman going back to her high school reunion, ended up becoming a whole other story. But that was one of the, actually the filmmaker of that was the first ever trans adult that I ever met. And so that documentary was important to me. And I was like, that'd be cool if maybe I did that. Let me film a documentary of my high school reunion. But no, I filmed basically nothing. And that documentary, by the way, is called Prodigal Sons by Kim. I always remember the wrong last name. It's Kimberly Reed, by Kimberly Reed. That is her name. And lots of content warnings with that one. It deals a lot with mental illness, and I guess that's kind of it, but like in a really intense way. So read the summary, maybe watch a trailer before you watch it, but it's called Prodigal Sons, and it's a very good documentary. That is not about a high school reunion, although it is at the start. I also got a really great question on Instagram that says, asking more about clips from the transition timeline video. I know I went on a tangent talking about the reunion video, but going back to the video that this live stream is supposed to be a part of, I got a good question on Instagram that asked, who's the hot guy in the suit with the stamp? That's my friend John asking about himself. One fun thing that if you watch my name change video that I did, my videos, that's how I changed my name and gender marker, which is a pretty educational video. I did my research on it because I've worked with the Trans Legal Defense and Education Fund in the past, and they have a name change project where they help trans people change their name pro bono. So if that is the thing anyone watching is trying to work out right now, please look up TILDEF, the Trans Legal Defense and Education Fund. They can help you out, maybe, if they're in your jurisdiction, but they definitely have resources on their website. Anyways, in that video, I explained that I was very lucky that at the time I was working on my name change and gender marker change and all of that, my friend happened to be a notary public at the time. And so I was like, hey, friend, you want to notarize my paperwork? And so we went into my lawyer's office, and yeah, he did that for me. It was really cool. It was really nice to get to have a friend do that with me. But I forgot the exact phrase I said I would say, John, but he is no longer a notary public, and so cannot be your sexy notary for you. I'm sorry. If you have to find another one, I cannot recommend him. Oh, I like this question. What is your best video you've ever done according to you, and what's your least favorite? My least favorite video is probably not public anymore. I've privated so many, which is really annoying whenever like the press or different people will try to like research me by looking at my channel, and they always like try to look at the first video I ever posted. It's not the first video I posted on YouTube. First of all, this isn't even the first channel I ever had on YouTube. So everyone's like, he started in 2010. It's like, no, I started on YouTube in 2007. I just don't have those channels public anymore. And I think I've pretty much privated like every video before I cut my hair. There's still a good number of videos with my old name and stuff, like before I came out, but yeah, those are the ones that I think I dislike the most. And then I've probably privated others that I don't like. It's a tough question of which video is my least favorite. I feel like there's a lot that I don't love, but it sort of depends on the context. Like when someone asks if they can use a clip of something for like press materials, like I always really appreciate when they actually ask, because sometimes in some contexts I'll be like, oh, this clip of the video, I don't like how I looked, or I don't like how I said that. There's definitely a lot of my old videos that I wish we still had YouTube annotations so I could go add like, hey, I didn't phrase this well, or this has changed, or like I've done my research more and here's what I should have said. That's probably the thing that bothers me the most about old videos. As far as like the best video I've ever done, according to me, that would be this one, not this live stream, but the video that I just put out last week, like hands down. I'm trying to think of what would be second to that. I mean, the second most like vulnerable and personal one before that is definitely the coming out video from 5 years ago. I've made so many videos. Like there's probably, I think there's like 200 that are public just on that channel. So like I've made a lot over the years. It's hard to remember them all. Working on this video helped me remember a lot, and it was actually kind of cool to look through like different periods of time when I could tell I was in a really good vibe of like making good videos. There was like, oh wow, I had like a 3-month like I don't know, just like a good momentum going, and then there's others that was like, oh, this was bad, this is not a good video. Yeah, it's weird to go back and look at this stuff. We put so much out there online, or at least some of us do, and I think we forget about a lot of it, which is another reason to be really responsible with what you're putting out there and really think about it and remember that like you might forget you ever put that on the internet, but someone else is going to find it and might come back to you know, hurt you or hurt someone else in some way eventually. Oh, someone is one of Alex Myers' students. That's awesome. I love Alex Myers. Is it Meyer or Myers? I just saw the way you spelled it. Oh, it is Myers. Okay. A lot of people with pluralized last names. Alex, by the way, is a teacher at Exeter Academy. Someone asked, have I considered coming to Exeter to talk? I haven't, because I feel like you have Alex, and like, what more could I say? Like, I love talking with him. We did a couple of book events together. And I feel like we've got a cool kind of intergenerational type of dialogue happening. But no, I hadn't considered, I feel like Exeter wouldn't invite me because they're like, we've got Alex to talk about all this stuff. But for anyone who doesn't know Alex, he is the author of these 2 books. He has another one that maybe came out this year. I don't know if it's been postponed for the pandemic. This one is his newest one. It's called Continental Divide, and it's about a trans guy in the 90s who has a really rough go of like coming out and starting transition, and decides to go out to Wyoming to sort of prove himself to himself. And I love it because I love the idea of going out west and doing that kind of thing. Also, it's like, you know, takes place in the 90s. It's kind of fun. And then his first novel was Revolutionary, which is really cool because it's a historical novel about Deborah Sampson, who is a woman who fought, like dressed as a man to fight in the Revolutionary War. We have, you know, there's a lot of records of women, we will say, who dressed as men to fight in various wars, I mean, around the world. And, you know, we can't put identity markers from the 20th, 21st century on people in the past. You know, we can only sort of speculate of how they might have felt. But one kind of litmus test is, and I heard this from Alex, but I've heard it from others as well, is like if that person from history chose to continue living as that gender after the war or after, you know, whatever it was that made them, you know, choose to live as another gender for a little bit. And it seems like Deborah Sampson actually did try to at one point. And so I don't know. Was Deborah Sampson trans? What is trans? What is trans when you're a 17th century person anyway? 18th century? 1700s. Anyways, the cool thing about this book, besides the fact that it's a great novel and it's a great person from history, is that Deborah Sampson is actually one of Alex's ancestors. And that's freaking awesome. I mean, it's cool, first of all, that like I feel like there's a lot of novels out there of like this woman who dressed as a man and served in the Civil War. And like that's interesting, but it's always written by a cis person. So like what a relief to like get to read one of those kinds of stories written by a trans person, but then even cooler that it's like his ancestor. That's awesome. Okay. I've been going on a lot of tangents on this live stream, but hopefully that's fine. You're all entertaining yourselves in the chat, at least on YouTube. Why are people saying Vlogmas? Is that because Alex was in Vlogmas? I think so. Okay, I have not at all. I talked a bit about like the larger background of where I got a lot of the footage for the video, but I haven't actually gone through the video and picked out some things that I wanted to talk about. So I'm doing that now. I'm going back and looking at the video. So I did explain why I have like so much footage from the era of me actually coming out and starting transition. And that's because we were working on that documentary that never happened. But I have had a lot of other people just be like, how do you have so much footage from every part of your life? Which is fair. And part of that is because I've just kept it all. I really like keeping like physical memories. Like I keep all my journals. I am the person of my family who owns all of our family photos and our VHS tapes and everything like that. I have not found a good way to transfer our mini DV tapes and our other DV tapes. Remember the camcorders that had like the cassette size or the like half a cassette size tapes that would go in them? I have not been able to transfer those, which is why it was very difficult to find footage from around the time I was in middle school, because that's when everything was filmed on those. But yeah, I've just always kept it very well organized. And I don't know, I collect my own memories, I guess, because it's hard to remember things and I want to remember things and I like looking back on things. I mean, that's why my book has so many like photos from growing up, and it has all my old journal entries and stuff. And you know, I just felt like that's a unique thing about me, is that I have access to all of that and I can go through it. So why not use it at the times when I personally feel comfortable sharing it, which is not always. This video linked a couple of times to my video about how I feel about sharing pre-transition photos of myself, which is a complicated thing despite the fact that I do it quite a bit. But anyways, there's a couple of other reasons that there's a lot of footage. Like, it's not just that I saved it all. I think people do probably have more pictures and footage of them than they think they do. It just maybe is not in their possession anymore, got lost somewhere, got damaged somehow, like, but it did maybe exist at some time. But there is a lot that my family filmed for a couple of reasons. One is that when my brother and I were like in elementary school, my mom just used to set up the big camcorder, which actually I have. Hold on. There we go. This is the camcorder that a lot of the video was shot on. My brother sent this to me a while ago, and I can just about get it to work. I can't get batteries to charge anymore, but it works when I plug it in. So I don't know. I might film a vlog on this at some point. I thought about trying to do something filmed on this for the video, the big video, but I don't know. I didn't come up with a good enough idea. Anyways, so when we were kids, my mom would just like set this on a shelf in the living room and then turn on some music, and my brother and I would just like dance around or do goofy things for an hour, and that was how she was able to, you know, clean the kitchen and make lunch while we were on summer or Christmas break. I like the people saying it's such a big camera. You either were not alive when those were common or you have forgotten, because they are quite a bit bigger than you remember, even if you were around for them. But those are all, that's the kind of camcorder that in the 80s and 90s all the dads bought and thought that they were so high tech and so excited about. But also when I was in elementary school, me and my brother and the neighborhood kids, and then me and some of my friends would just like make short films. Sometimes they literally did have like a script and costumes and scene changes and all kinds of stuff. But sometimes they were also just like a generic idea, and then we would shoot and do whatever. Hi, Charlie. It was fun that some people I actually know are here. I mean, it's great that all of you are here too. I just always sometimes feel like my like YouTube life is separate than my real life. And so when my like real life, but like when my real life friends stop by or watch my videos, it's always like, oh, hey, you didn't have to do that. Hi, how are you? Anyways, yeah, we made a lot of stupid short films back in the day, and I am so glad that YouTube did not exist then, because we probably would have posted them on YouTube, and I'm so glad we didn't, because they were terrible. But they made for great 2-second clips for this montage video that I made. I mean, I also just, I did a lot of acting and dance recitals and stuff as a kid, so I had a lot of that to pull from. And then in high school, my friends and I did the same thing. We made stupid short films with each other. And so I had a lot of footage from that. So there's definitely like a lot of clips that some of them you can tell they're from performances, but I think there's some where you might not be able to tell that I was acting in a short film. Oh, I just remembered one that's actually kind of funny. This will be funny to some of you. Maybe not all of you will get it necessarily, but there was one short film that I did with my friend. We were maybe 9 or 10. And like I had completely forgotten about it, but when I found the tape, I watched it through, and the premise of the film was like we were these two, I don't know, like wildlife conservationists or safari people or something, and our dad had been kidnapped and we had to go save him. So we were like on this quest to go save our dad, and our dad's name was John Green. Which, you know, when I came up with that in 1999, just seemed like a regular generic name. But when I watched this video back and was like, I just saw myself in this fake mustache with a hat on saying like, I'm John Green's son. And I was like, what? What? Yeah, maybe I should find the clip of that. Yeah, that might be a funny thing to post somewhere. Yeah, that was wild. All right. I like that you're all sharing your pronouns. That's good. If only there were a way, you know, like on some video conferencing now, you can kind of put your pronouns by your name, or at least it's a good practice to. I wish we could do that like on here. I always feel bad reading out anyone's like username, because like maybe you haven't updated your username to be the name that you like, and then I'm saying a name you don't like out loud, and then I just default to like gender neutral pronouns for everyone I don't know, which I know is kind of a best practice, but also doesn't feel great for everyone. So I like that you're sharing your pronouns. I'm not going to be able to cross-check them if I call you out again. But all right, I'm going back to the video. I'll look at some things. Oh, yeah, here's one thing that I wanted to say. And I don't know if anyone could really notice this if you are not these people, but there are at least 3, yeah, I'd say probably 3 predominantly people, friends of mine, who reappear in multiple parts of the video as we grew up together. And once I started realizing that there were a few people in my life that I had that footage of, and particularly people who I thought would be okay with me sharing that, because that was a big challenge for this video, was realizing how many, especially once I got to like later in life and like YouTube collaborations and stuff, realizing how many people in my life are trans people, and therefore maybe look very different than when we like filmed together in whatever way, or like have come out and like completely started transitioning since we filmed together. And so I just didn't want to, like, and I checked with a few of them, like Chandler is in there, and Chandler and I had a conversation, and they were like totally happy to be in it, even though we both have grown so much since the video clip I used. But I didn't want to, like, yeah, with trans people, I mean, that's an unfortunate thing, and what makes this video complicated is, like, even if it's a good memory, we don't necessarily like how we look, or like having that reminder of where we were at otherwise at that time. So not many trans people appear in this video for that reason, but of some of my other friends who I knew would be cool with it, and I checked with them if they would be cool with it, I thought it was really cool to include clips of us together from different points in our life, just to sort of show for anyone who would have noticed, which is probably no one, that, you know, not everyone in your life is going to abandon you, that, you know, you're gonna have friends that kind of still stick with you, and that, like, they grow and change as well over time. You know, one of my friends in there, there's clips of us from early high school, then later in high school, and then as adults. And there's another friend of mine that's like when we are in our late teenage years, and then well, he's a few years younger than me, but, you know, then like several years after that, and then several years after that again. And you can see us change. Like, you might not even be able to pick out who these people are that I'm talking about that appear multiple times, because like they changed too. It wasn't just me. And I'm not ever trying to like conflate transness with other experiences, because it's very different, but I do think it can sometimes be nice for us trans people to remember that, like, certain things, like, that, I don't know, like, cis people can be self-conscious about certain things too. This one's not really talking about self-consciousness, but yeah, I don't know. I like when we can find moments of universality that we're not necessarily going to understand each other exactly, but we might have an entry point, and we might have a little bit of a way to like tap into compassion like that. That's why I like when cis people like read my book or watch my videos, and they're like, oh, like, I'm not trans, but I had an experience similar to that. Or I have felt that before. Like, a lot of cis people have said that about my book, just because so much of it's focused on, you know, body image and social pressure, and everyone feels those things in different ways, but everyone feels them to some extent. Let's see, was one of them your old roommates? Yes. Yeah. She's not one of my main ones, because I feel like most of the footage of us was, oh wait, no, there's like a bunch of high school footage of us, and then like one or two things from adulthood. Yeah. Yeah, it totally was. I thought I was cis before I started watching Jackson's videos. Oh no. I mean, congrats. That's awesome. I just all of those transphobes who like write books about trans YouTubers now accuse us of doing that. We're not turning people trans. We're giving them the resources to understand themselves. That's what it is. YouTube helped me figure out not who I was. I was kind of figuring out I was trans already, but YouTube helped me realize that there was like a happy and productive way forward, and a place for me, and that kind of thing. That's what I feel like we're doing on social media as trans people, sharing our stories. Like, yeah, we can maybe help some people have that first realization, and we can provide a lot of resources, but we're mostly just like being here to be like, hey, here's what it's really like, and you're going to be okay. And like, you know, showing you that things will be all right. That's what I think I'm doing, or I try to do. Someone's been asking about the J.K. Rowling thing. I've talked about that a lot in a lot of places. So you can read my New York Times op-ed. Probably if you just Google my name and J.K. Rowling's, a bunch of different articles will come up. Also, most recently, I talked about it on the podcast Potterless, hosted by Mike Schubert. His username is Shubes. I just call him Mike. He hosts Potterless. And yeah, I was on there to talk a lot about the Potter Puppet Pals, but first we talked about J.K. Rowling, so you could listen to that. I was also on Harry Potter and the Sacred Text, which is an amazing podcast, and we had a really long and deep conversation. And also, they pulled in voicemails from other trans people. And I think that's actually really great because you can hear from some trans women and from some non-binary people and not just from me. So Harry Potter and the Sacred Text, I recommend anyone listen to that if they're sort of curious about the whole J.K. Rowling thing. What's up on Instagram? Someone has a question about needle anxiety. So I just want to give a heads up if anyone doesn't want to hear about that. I'm not going to get too in depth. I'm only going to talk about this for a couple of moments. But if you want to maybe mute me and come back in a minute or something, because I do want to talk about this a little bit. So here is your warning. If you want to step away, I'll probably, I don't know, maybe put like 2 minutes on the clock or something. But someone asked how I deal with needle anxiety, if I get it, that they have a huge fear of needles doing T-shots. I mean, the first thing I would say is like, I know it's not always an option, but if it is an option, you can talk to your doctor and see if maybe you can go on the gel. And there's more and more other forms of taking hormones that are coming out. I saw a YouTuber yesterday who was doing a sublingual, which is like when something dissolves under your tongue. That was the first I ever heard of that, but apparently there are more and more ways. Also, if you are doing intramuscular, maybe talk to your doctor about the possibility of doing subcutaneous. There are some people who, there's pros and cons of both of them. I've read enough peer-reviewed articles from doctors to say that they're both like equally effective at this point. But anyways, so there are other options. So try talking to your doctor. Someone just asked, is the gel as effective as the T-shots? My understanding is that initial changes are maybe a little less and a little slower, just sort of like smoothed out over time, but it really depends on the person. So it's something to talk to your doctor about, and again, like with so many things about hormones, it just depends on your genetics. It depends on who you are and how your body reacts to things. Some people do go on the gel to intentionally have like slower changes at first, but in the end, I think you'll be getting whatever your body was always going to get. But anyways, in terms of needle anxiety specifically, and sorry if I go over a little 2 minutes here, I'm not timing this at all for real. I don't think I really have it. Because they haven't ever quite bothered me, but I had 1 or 2 bad experiences that have now gotten in my head. And so now I struggle with it a little bit. And I'm not going to give you anything that's too great of advice. Again, talk to your doctor, talk to your psychiatrist if you see one. But a few things that have helped me is, one, having like, sometimes I'll just turn like a TV show on my iPad or listen to a podcast, just something that can distract me a little bit, not too much that I'm, not doing everything I need to do, but something to distract me a little bit. Sometimes I reward myself. I'm like, can have a cookie after you do this. I've also tried, and this has helped sometimes, is I give myself a countdown. Like once I've gotten everything ready, and I'm like literally like holding the needle, I count down from 5, and when I get to 1, I just have to go. And like that's it. And I tell myself, I start the countdown and I do it. And I try to follow that rule because it just, that way I'm not just sitting there for an hour going back and forth. And I got that piece of advice from someone who does like actually suffer from needle anxiety. So maybe that'll work for you. I think just trying to calm yourself, getting yourself into a place where you feel okay, and making sure, something for me is like, I always feel like I'm going to do it wrong. So if that's part of it for you, talk to your doctor, maybe ask if you can go do your shot in person. Well, maybe not now, but over Zoom, I don't know, something like that. Just, if that would help you to reassure that you are doing everything correctly, because that helped me. Yeah. Okay, that'll be the end of that talk. Hopefully some of that was slightly good advice. It might be stuff you've already heard everywhere. Is my roommate watching this? Hi, Allison. Yep. I was only going to do an hour, but we'll keep talking for a little bit. I'll log off soon. I see some of you are having to go. I know some of you are watching from far away in other time zones, and it's super late. So thanks for being up. Here's what I'll say. I'm getting a lot of really general questions about coming out and about transitioning, and I want to answer all of them because I love talking about this. And I'm not an expert, but this is how we can all kind of learn together. So I think I should do another live stream sometime soon. Like I was saying, I kind of want to do them after I put out videos, like the night of or the next day. So maybe I'll get into a better habit of that so we can answer more of those. Because I wanted to do this to talk specifically about the video. I don't have much more to say, but I just want to double check that I don't have any more to say about that. So also I will say, if you have any questions specifically about the video I posted last week, hit me up with those. This will be last call for questions about that. And we'll talk more about general transition, everything else on another live stream soon. I'm just checking if I missed anything. I mean, I've missed a lot, I know, but let's see. Oh, I saw someone at one point asking like if people are deleting comments. There's like a lot of auto moderation that happens on the YouTube side. I have no idea about Instagram, but on the YouTube side, there's a lot of auto moderation that happens. So you might have somehow used some type of word unintentionally that got flagged, and like I did not do it, but it did the thing. Okay. Did I feel vulnerable posting the video, or am I mostly immune to that? Both, I think. It's definitely a vulnerable video. One thing I just remembered, I was shaking the entire time. Like I was literally shivering from about 15 minutes before the video started until about 10 minutes after. I thought I was maybe just cold, and then I realized that I was like just nervous. And this has sort of happened to me for like speaking gigs I get really nervous about. So yeah, that's how scared I was, is I was literally physically shivering the entire time. So yeah, I don't know, like I feel like I'm immune in some ways. I feel like I just focus on, this is gonna sound really pretentious, but like the art that I'm trying to make with it. And then at some points throughout it, and certainly when I'm about to put it public, I'll realize what I'm doing and be like, oh, should I do this? I don't know if I should do this, but I'm gonna do it. And and then try not to think about it after that. And as much as like I want this video to do well, numbers wise, actually, I wish it were doing like a little bit better. But also I don't in some ways, because anytime it gets in any video like this, any video of mine that is like about trans stuff or has, old photos or talking too personally about things, anytime they get a lot of attention, then I'm like, I have this whole wave of like, oh no, why did I do that? Why did I put that out there? So it's yeah, it's always tough. And definitely like, supportive comments and all of you here like this makes me feel like it's worth it, but then any like one negative comment can like send you down the spiral and be like, why did I do this? Why do I do anything in my life? Why? And just it really can bring you down sometimes. Okay, did I have a specific audience in mind for the video? Everyone. I feel like there are two audiences that I'm usually trying to reach, and that is trans people, especially any trans people who are maybe earlier on in figuring out who they are, who are questioning anything like that. And that's like the main people. And then hopefully off the back of that, I like trying to hit allies who want to be allies. Like people who are on board theoretically with trans people, but maybe don't know too much about us, or like who are really good allies but are still learning. That's the audience I really like trying to hit professionally. Like most speaking engagements I do are like at companies or organizations who are in that bucket. YouTube and like social media is where I'm like, feel like I'm talking to fellow trans people the most, and I love that, because I think often, when you are speaking to that smallest audience, that smallest population, that most specific population, there's some things, especially in the trans world, where it's like, okay, maybe you need a glossary and you have to define things people haven't heard of. But for the most part, that resonates with people beyond that audience. It's sort of that like the universality and the specific kind of thing. But I do really like when it can resonate with cis people in a way that they learn and they feel a little bit more compassion, and they can go out in the world and be better allies afterwards. Let's see. I got a lot of really good questions. I'm just trying to think of what one or two I can do justice to and can dive into in just a few minutes. It's a lot of, so this is very fair of you to all ask, but a lot of people ask a lot of questions about parents and coming out when you're a kid. And I didn't come out till I was 25. Technically, I told my mom when I was 21, but like I didn't do anything until I was completely independent from my parents, which honestly was great in a lot of ways. Uh, if you're in any way in the position to do that, I kind of recommend it. But I know, one, that's just not ever an option for some people, and two, especially if you're like 15 or something, the idea of waiting until you're 18 or older and independent from your parents is just inconceivable. Um, but I'm not really the best person to give advice because I didn't go through that. I would say check out a lot of other trans folks on YouTube and Instagram. There's so many up and coming now, who are younger and who came out at a younger age and might have better information, and just like more personal experience to share with you. Chandler Wilson is great. They post a lot of stuff from the perspective of being agender, but they came out, I think they recently said they like came out to themselves like 10 years ago. So, they're early 20s, but have been out and dealing with parents and schools and all kinds of things for a long time. What is it? Skylar, forgot his last name, but Pink Manta Ray is a cool trans guy, who posts a lot of resources on Instagram, so good one to follow. Chella Man is also younger and talks a lot about being like transmasculine, non-binary, and coming out at a younger age. So those are a few people that you can follow for sure if you want more advice about. Oh, we back on Instagram. Sorry, my phone is dying. I got a notification about it. But yeah, follow some of those folks. Oh, we got a really great joke from Miguel in the chat. You ever heard of trans parents? They're invisible. I love that. I've heard that a million times, but I still love it. It's great. All the trans dads always sharing jokes like that, and all the dads of trans kids. Okay. I'm totally gonna fall down the rabbit hole if I start answering some more of these questions, which are all really, really good questions. But again, check out some of those people that I mentioned, and also if you go to my website, jacksonbird.cool/resources, I have a whole page with all kinds of resources for you, stuff that you can send your parents, stuff that you can check out. It's websites, it's podcasts, it's movies, it's books, all kinds of things to check out. Skylar Baylor, that's his last name, Baylor. Thank you, Michael. So go to jacksonbird.cool/resources, because a lot of what I'm saying is in resources there. I saw someone just said Kurgil ? Which is maybe recommending Skylar Kurgil as someone else to watch. Yeah, definitely. Skylar, we're like the same age. I think he might be a year younger than me, but he came out in high school. And so a lot of his older videos are really great to watch. He's got some like Q&As he did with his mom back in the day. So yeah, if you're trying to come out to your parents or just dealing with coming out as a teenager, check out Skylar's early videos. Yeah, go support early YouTube. He's also in the video that I posted. Very quick shot of us together at my book event with Alex Myers. Alex is not in that shot. He's in another one, but it's all from the same night. Those are the kind of little Easter eggs that I wanted to throw out there for this. But no, you all have big, important questions. Fine. I'm kidding. This is great. I like that you're all saying bye to me. Maybe I should just leave then. Fine. I'll go. You all want me to go? You're all saying goodbye to me. I'll go soon. I'll leave soon. Let's see. Just checking a few things. I don't know. I guess I hit on most of what I wanted to say. This is what happens when I don't take notes. There are some really good questions. I'm getting tempted by a lot of your questions. I will answer this question. Maybe this will maybe be the last question, which is from Caleb. What got you started recording yourself in your transition? What inside you wanted to share it versus hiding your feelings in your transition? I mean, if you can't tell from the video I posted, I'm quite a narcissist and clearly record pretty much everything I do in my life and keep it. So I think to me, it just felt very natural. And I did have a sense of wanting to maybe make something from stuff. I knew for my first year, I did that poem, like 1 word a day. I wrote a poem and recorded myself saying 1 word each day. That's on my YouTube channel. If you haven't seen it, it's called 1 word a day, I think, 1 year on testosterone, something like that. So I knew I wanted to do that. I had a couple of other ideas of things that I maybe would do. And I just knew that to do those things, I needed to document stuff, at least to a certain extent. Like I used to do a whole photo shoot like each month that I was on testosterone for a while. I just wanted to have the content so that I could maybe do something with it in the future. But what I would say is even if you are not someone who posts stuff publicly, if you never want to post stuff publicly, I would still recommend documenting your transition in some way. Take pictures, even if it's just like 1 picture when you start and maybe like once a month for the first couple of months or something, because you will most likely get to a place a few months in where you feel like nothing has changed. You get really frustrated because a lot of stuff just, it seems like a few months in, there's always this point where it feels like stuff stalls and things can get kind of difficult. And it's really, really helpful if you're able to look back and realize how much has actually changed, because more will have changed than you felt like it did when you're just seeing yourself in the mirror every day and not having something to compare it back to. And also if you're able to like journal or anything, that can be helpful too, to be able to look back and see what you were literally thinking at another time. And sometimes it can be like, oh gosh, I was really struggling and I'm better now. Or it can be like, oh, like I look how I was happier, or, you know, or I had this realization or something. I think being able to compare can be really good for your own mental health and sense of self, and just sort of help you out when things get difficult. So you don't have to have a big idea for a video that you want to do. If you do, that's awesome. Like, would love to see it. Amazing. But even if you don't, and even if you hate taking pictures of yourself, if it's super dysphoric, you never want anyone to see it, still try to do just a couple, because it will help you to be able to look back on it. I've heard from so many guys who do not like pictures of themselves, even once they like get to a point where, you know, they feel gender euphoria and how they look, and they like how they look. They still don't like pictures of themselves. That's a totally normal thing. But they still took a few pictures early on and were very grateful for when they did. So that's what I would say about that. Oh, lots of deep questions. Someone recommended Ash Hardell. Yes, of course. Everyone watch Ash. Oh, I missed the 69-minute mark, apparently. Bummer. Ooh, and someone recommended Backstagers, the graphic novel. I read the first in that series last year. It was pretty good. I liked the backstage being a whole other universe kind of thing. Backstagers, lots going on with gender and sexuality in that one, if you want a graphic novel about that. Also, again, if you go to jacksonbird.cool/resources, tons of my book recommendations are there. There's also book recommendations at the back of my book, which I don't have a copy of near me anywhere. Oh, I did want to end with a few plugs. I mean, my book, go buy my book if you want. If you haven't bought it yet, that's fine. But what I'm more excited about is some of my merch, which if you are watching on YouTube, some of it might be showing up in the merch shelf below. I wanted to promote all of this when we were doing a back to school special, but unfortunately, the stuff they were sending me got lost in the mail and I never got it. So I finally have my own binder. Finally got my own copy. Got a 3-ring notebook binder. This is my own merch that I sell. So if you need a binder for school, for work, for organizing stuff, well, this is new, so I haven't put anything in it yet, but I like using binders to keep track of all my manuals for different devices and stuff. So if you need a binder, It is, look, it is for compressing notes though. For compressing notes, not, don't try to like do this. It would not be very effective. I don't recommend it. Not safe, not effective. But if you got some notes or different things that you want to put in there, you can buy this binder. If you're watching on YouTube, it's right below in a merch shelf. If you're watching on Instagram or anywhere else, just go to dftba.com and look me up. You can get a binder. The other things, though, I sell packs of pens. I was so excited to finally have one of these pens. So let's see if this will focus. I don't know if it will. Maybe. Probably not. On Instagram, it might. No, too much of a glare. All right, you'll just have to trust me. These pens say, you can't erase me, because it's a pen, but also trans visibility. Don't erase us. But also pens don't erase. And they've got a little trans symbol on there just to really nail home the... That's not a phrase. I always try to say nail home as a phrase. It's not, but to emphasize it. Anyway, they come in packs of 4. So you can also go to DFTBA, or if you're on YouTube, there should be a link in the merch shelf below. And soon you should be able to buy my book on DFTBA again. But right now you can just buy it literally anywhere else. Go to bookshop.org, and then you can buy it from a local bookstore. Support your local bookstore. Request it from your library. A lot of libraries are doing contactless pickup again. I got a bunch of library books the other day. But yeah, I'm very excited to finally have my own copies of that merch, because I made them like a year ago and have literally never had my own versions of them. So I'm super excited. Oh, and someone did say in the chat, and this is good, if you were looking for an actual binder, GC2B is, I think, probably the best company on the market right now. They are mostly Black owned, entirely owned by people of color. So that's awesome to support. And it's, you know, trans owned and trans made, and they're always innovating and coming up with all kinds of different collections and lines. I think they definitely do like giveaways on occasion, I want to say. But if you are not financially able to get a binder, Point of Pride, which is Aidan Dowling's nonprofit organization, does a lot of binder scholarships and stuff like that. So look them up, and I'm pretty sure Point of Pride always does GC2B binders when they do. So look those up. But I'm actually going to go now. Thanks to everyone who has tuned in for this. You had so many great questions, so I'll do another live stream kind of soon. Like, I don't know if I'll do another one. I have a calendar up here I'm looking at. I don't know if I'll do another one in October, maybe, but definitely start trying to do them more regularly. So bye, Alana. That's my friend. So I'm saying bye to Alana by her actual name. I'm not going to say goodbye to each of you by name, because there's 160 of you on YouTube. I can't say all of your names right now. But thank you all for watching. Thank you for watching the video. If you have seen it, please share it with people. Share it all around. I would love more people to see it, despite what I said about the vulnerability thing. I really want this video to get spread around, because it's gotten a really good reception. And so I think it's helping people. So please share it if you've got somewhere to share it. And mostly, though, just thanks for coming tonight. And I'll talk to all of you again soonish. Oh, but over here on Instagram, I don't know how to end this.